Okay, so today you're going to take notes. Okay, so you're going to have to pause the video, copy down the notes, and then move it on. Yesterday you should have watched the video over quadrilaterals, classifying quadrilaterals. So this is just a repeat of it. So quadrilaterals, quad means four. Okay, lateral means lines. So that means a quadrilateral is a two-dimensional figure with four lines. Okay, all quadrilaterals add up to equal 360 degrees. That means when you are measuring the angles, so this would be a quadrilateral. It's four lines that all connect. If this is a right angle and this is a right angle, right angle, right angle, each one of these equals 90. And 90 times 4 is 360, okay? So all four angles will always add up to 360 degrees, okay? No matter what the shape is of the quadrilateral, all four angles should add up to 360 degrees, okay? All right, the first one is a parallelogram. Parallelogram has two pair of parallel sides. Okay, two pair of parallel sides. It also has two pair of sides of equal length. So in other words, you notice that these two markings and these two markings indicate that these two sides are equal length. This side has one mark, this side has one mark, indicating that those two are the same as well. So that's one pair, two pair of sides of equal length. One pair of parallel lines, two pair of parallel lines. Okay? We don't say four parallel lines. You have to use the word pair. Okay? Because you need two lines to make parallel. All right, next is the rectangle. The rectangle is a parallelogram. All right, with two pair of parallel sides. Okay, same as a parallelogram. These two sides are the same, and they are parallel. These two sides are the same, and they're parallel. So we would also put that it is two pair of sides with equal length. Okay. Now, one other thing that we notice about the rectangle is all the corners make right angles, don't they? So a rectangle has four right angles. Okay, so a rectangle is a parallelogram with two pair of parallel sides. It has two pair of sides of equal length, and it has four right angles. Okay, next is the square. The square is also a parallelogram. Okay, and a parallelogram we know has two pair of parallel sides. Okay, on a square, you notice that all four lines have the same marking, which means all four lines are congruent. Okay, and just a little side note, congruent means same. Okay, same size, same shape. Okay. All right, so we've looked at the square, and we see that it's a parallelogram because it has two pair of parallel lines. These are parallel, and these are parallel. We've noticed that it's got all four lines are congruent, so it's got four sides that are equal. And the other thing that you should see is it also has four right angles. Okay. Four right angles. All right, next is the rhombus. Rhombus is a parallelogram with, again, two pair of parallel sides. Okay, it does not have right angles. Okay, so here's where the square and the rhombus are the same, that they both have two pair of parallel lines. So this is parallel to this, and this is parallel to this. It also has four congruent sides. The only thing that a rhombus has that a square does not have, the only thing a rhombus does not have that a square has is the right angles. So these are both the same thing, except for what I would say is a rhombus is a square that somebody sat on. Okay, so it squished it and leaned it to the side. So the lines are the same length. They're both parallelograms. The only difference between the two is a rhombus does not have right angles. Okay? And then the last one is a trapezoid. A trapezoid is just a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides. Okay? It only has one pair. So this one and this one are your parallel sides. Because, and this is what this is, if I was to take this line and extend it up, and this line and extend it up, it would make a triangle. So a trapezoid often looks like the bottom of a triangle. Okay, so there's your vocabulary for the shapes, and it identifies all their attributes. Okay, but there's one more thing that we need to look at, and that's the hierarchy. Okay, in 5th grade, a lot of what you'll see is the quadrilateral hierarchy. And this is almost like what you would call a family tree. Okay, so you're going to need to draw this on your paper. So we'd start with polygons. And the reason we start with polygons is because it is the base of every shape, because the definition of a polygon is a closed plane figure with 3 or more sides. Okay, and what I mean by closed plane, meaning it is a two-dimensional shape and it closes all the way. So like this is not a closed plane figure and it only has 2 sides. That is not a closed plane figure because it's not a polygon because it didn't complete. But once I bring this down and it all hits, that's a polygon. That's a polygon. Okay, these are all polygons. Okay, those are all examples of polygons. Okay, all right, so in our hierarchy, we start with polygons because closed plane figure with 3 or more sides. Next is our quadrilaterals. Okay. So we've talked about the polygons that were triangles, because all triangles are polygons. Okay, we've talked about those and we classified those the last couple of days. So today we're talking about shapes that have 4 sides. So polygon also is a quadrilateral is also a polygon. Now, off of the quadrilaterals, we're going to talk about those 5 different shapes that we just wrote our notes on. Okay, so one thing that you saw that all of them had in common, they were all parallelograms. Not all of them, actually. Most of them. Okay, and then there was one that was not. Okay, the one that hung out by itself, it had only one pair of parallel lines, and it's not called a parallelogram, it's just the trapezoid. Okay, notice in our notes, if you look back, when we wrote trapezoid, I just put quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides, because the definition of parallelogram means it has 2 pair of parallel sides. So trapezoid is off over here all by hands a little lonesome. All right, from the parallelograms, we know that a rectangle is a parallelogram. And we know that the rhombus is a parallelogram. Okay, now, here's what we need to look at. A rectangle, the definition for rectangle said a parallelogram, okay? 2 pair of parallel lines, 4 right angles. A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. Okay? Now, a square is a parallelogram with 2 pair of parallel sides. Okay, they both have parallel sides. 4 congruent sides. That would be the same as a rhombus, right? So, I'm going to write square. Okay, so the definition of square, again, says parallelogram with all sides congruent, which means opposite sides are congruent, right? And then 4 right angles. Well, the definition of a rectangle is a parallelogram, same as a square. 4 right angles, same as a square. 2 pairs of sides of equal length. Doesn't the square have 2 pairs of sides of equal length? Okay, if you look, this pair is equal length and this pair is equal length. So that's 2 pair, right? So the rectangle goes down to the square. Okay, so the way you read this is you go up, okay? A square can be a rectangle, a rhombus, a parallelogram, quadrilateral, polygon. Those are all the names for a square. A rectangle can be a parallelogram, quadrilateral, polygon. A rhombus can be a parallelogram, quadrilateral, polygon. A trapezoid is just a trapezoid, quadrilateral, and a polygon. So what I want you to see is that you read up and follow the lines, because that's all the names that go with that particular shape. So again, a square is everything except the trapezoid. A rhombus is everything going up. Okay? Rectangle is everything going up. Now, notice the rectangle and rhombus don't connect, because rhombus says 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. A rectangle does not have 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. All right, so here's what, and this is a big note that you need to write, because this is often seen on a STAR question. So a rectangle I'm sorry. Back that up. Okay. A square can be classified as a rectangle, but a rectangle cannot be a square. Okay, a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle cannot be a square. Okay, because a rectangle does not have four congruent sides. It has opposite sides congruent, but not four sides congruent. Okay, all right. So if I'm a square, my names are, okay, so just we're gonna write this down. Obviously square, rhombus, rectangle, parallelogram, quadrilateral, and they're all polygons. Okay? All right. So what you're going to have today is, in a little bit, it's going to post, is an assignment on classifying these. So use these notes, use this hierarchy to figure out if you have the right classification. Okay? Especially here. Notice that the square, let me show you the pictures again. Notice that the square has parallel lines we've talked about, but notice how the square and the rectangle both have perpendicular lines because they form a right angle, whereas the rhombus would have intersecting because it does not form right angles. The trapezoid would also have intersecting lines. Okay, they're intersecting, they don't form a right angle. All right, okay, so work on that. Finish the make sure you finish the ed puzzle all the way to the end. Make sure that you do the worksheet. It'll come in just a little bit. And then if you have any questions, send me a message, and then we can do a meet next week. Okay?